Wanted to get you on today to talk about this book, Virtue. Also talk about this Elliot Spitzer story. He's looking for political redemption in the great New York City. It seems like our last guest was calling us from New York City, and now we have a story that's based in New York City. So, Allison, talk to me about this book, Virtue.
Okay. It's funny because the story was actually born because of what happened with Elliot Spitzer. That's what inspired me to even write the book. I'm not kidding. I was so flabbergasted with it. It's a story about a high-class call girl, why she became one, what her life was like before. It's a story about guts, survival, determination, and how she prevails. And when the Spitzer escort story, made the headlines, I was like, I can't believe this. I can't believe a guy would risk it all. I mean, this was probably a hopeful presidential candidate, and he threw it all away. He risked his career, his reputation, everything. I'm shocked he's entering back into the arena. But then I started thinking about, the escorts, this Ashley Dupre, and why would she do it? What makes a girl decide to, enter the world's oldest profession? And started doing a lot of research, and a novel was born.
We've got Allison Bassen with us today. Allison was inspired... Bassen, okay. Allison Bassen with us today. Was inspired to write her first novel when the former governor, Elliot Spitzer, made headlines with a professional escort. She questioned why a man would risk his career, as we just were talking there. Why do you think that he would risk his reputation and his family as well with something like this?
When I researched about him, I think he thought he was above the law. I think he thought he was untouchable. You have to remember that before Elliot Spitzer was the governor of New York, he was New York Attorney General. And one of his targets was eliminating prostitution rings. So for a man to, stand on a soapbox and then turn around and use escorts, I mean, what does that say about this person?
It is a strange situation. Let's talk about this book, Virtue. Talk to me about the writing process for this incredible book.
Well, the way I structured the book is every other chapter tells you about one of the heroine. Her name is Candace, one of her favorite clients. She's not proud of what she does, but she does take great pride in her work. She nicknames each of her clients. And then she explains the hat she needs to wear in order to please this client. And we just learn more about why she did it, the curves that were thrown at her, and how she prevails.
Now, talk to me about some of the characters in this book and how you develop them.
Well, we start off with Susan. She's a wealthy, charm-schooled Atlanta socialite. She's a good girl. She played by all the rules, and everything ended up being a huge joke at her expense. She realized she was in somewhat of a Stepford wife coma, and she was given some ultimatums, and she had to work her way out of that. The other heroine is Candace. She's the high-class call girl, and she lives in the penthouse suite at one of Manhattan's swankiest hotels, and talks about her life as an active call girl. What they have in common is one formidable man, something that they're both in fear of their actual survival. So it develops each of their stories chapter by chapter.
Now, what were some of the central themes covered in the book besides the obvious?
I think the themes are, one of the biggest themes is somewhat psychological. I think when someone's taught to, be a certain way, the title of the book, Virtuous, and without, giving too much away, I think, the main character was, really shocked that, the good girl doesn't always prevail. Everything her parents had taught her, the way they molded her, was somewhat hypocritical. All they really cared about was her marrying into money. And it just didn't work out. So she was faced with horrible ultimatums, and it becomes a story about her survival.
We've got a tremendous guest with us today. Allison joins us talking about virtue. Talk to us about how we can connect with you online and how people who have picked the book up can correspond with you.
Oh, great. They can go to my website, which is AllisonBassen.com. They can also go on to Amazon and look up Virtue, and it will also take you to my biography and my website where they're able to contact me. Very easy. The book is available either hard copy, Kindle, any EPUB download.
Now, our listeners can pick the book up there. They can correspond with you. What is your next project?
My next project is I have a second book coming out called My Father's Affair. That's being proofread and edited right now, but it's a book I look forward to as well. It's somewhat of a retro book. It takes place in the South, 1964, and it's about a 13-year-old daughter who discovers her father having an affair, and unfortunately, it's an affair with her aunt, and she takes it upon herself to break them up. She doesn't want the stigma of coming from a broken home, and she tries to keep her family intact.
Such an amazing piece of business. Talk to me about the inspiration for this.
Well, the inspiration, I had heard of this happening to a coworker of mine where her sister cheated with her husband, and I was just shocked. But what I did, as a writer, is I wanted to raise the stakes a little bit. I think by having the book narrated by a 13-year-old, seeing this happen to her own family, tells you so much about how children or yet teenagers feel, whether it's 1964 or current day, how they feel about their family breaking apart. Now when people get divorced, kids accept it because it's out there. They may accept it, oh yeah, big deal, my parents are getting divorced. But on the inside, they really don't accept it. And in 1964, divorce was a dirty word. They didn't even use it. You came from a broken home, and I think that really changed everything back in that time.
We've got a great guest with us today. Allison, you've written this incredible book, Virtue. What was going through your mind when you put this book together and everything from, because you mentioned that it basically was inspired by real life events.
Yeah, I started thinking just about the whole thing. Why does this man risk his career? What made the girl decide to do it? I thought about the movie, which I really enjoyed. A lot of people probably remember Pretty Woman. Here we were all rooting, pulling out pom-poms for Julia Roberts, who was a prostitute. She was a streetwalker. And when I watched that movie, I remember thinking, this is really a love story. And I wanted to know why Julia Roberts became a prostitute. And I wanted to know why the character played by Richard Gere, who was somewhat of a ruthless business tycoon, why he needed to hire a streetwalker to accompany him for a week of business dinners. I wanted to know more about the psychological side of how some of those things became possible. And it just became intrigue. And once you start looking up the history of prostitution, they don't call it the oldest profession, for any slight reason. It goes all the way back in time, in the Bible, and women were prostitutes, spies in world wars, and the whole field. I just found it very intriguing.
Now, Allison, I appreciate you being on with us today. We got to move along, but this was a great interview. I enjoyed talking about your book. And before we let you go, how do we get a hold of you again, and how do we purchase the book?
You can purchase the book on Amazon, and you can go to my website as well, AllisonBassen.com. And I hope all of you enjoyed. I look forward to getting your feedback. And you can call me at the same exact number that you called today, and I'll be love to talk to you again.
Well, Allison, I will probably be doing that because I want to definitely have you back when you get the next book completed. Thanks for doing this, and we will talk to you soon, my friend.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
Definitely. We'll talk to you soon, Allison. Allison Bassen with us today here on the big broadcast, and we're going to take a quick little time out here. When we come back, we will talk to author James Rawlins, coming up here in a few moments.